Good, good, good.
They were sitting there digging up the fucking main drain. I don't care. I can be cursing everywhere. I ain't going live yet.
Hey guys,
Taking
you want to sit on each side of Kyle? That's what I was thinking. Like,
yeah. I gotta get more equipment for later. I'm gonna get the.
Okay, Barry sits here. Yeah.
Did you get it anywhere yet? Jim, did Jim get in anywhere? Doctor?
Not yet.
Okay. I'm gonna get some equipment
equipment.
for the GoPro. So I want to record it on the GoPro.
Okay.
Let's see. Brandon, where are you going?
I'm gonna be over on the right of Barry, or well, our right, his left. Y'all look at that.
Plenty of room.
I got. I'll be good then.
Aaron, be good over there then?
Yeah.
Where will I
just
be
see
good?
The edge of the chair, but there's plenty of room next to Jim that I can see. There's plenty of room over here.
And he can be on the corner so when he's got to break it, he'll play the camera.
You can see the comments.
Hey, there's another guest.
Right here?
Bring it over here.
Don't forget it.
Bring it over here. By the way, you made it before we started. You made it before we
I
started.
know, just barely.
All right.
Live?
Just do a good job.
Yeah, we're live.
All right. Going live. You're not staying?
So, no, I gotta be home.
You don't want to be on?
We already got two good guests.
Yeah,
You don't want to say hi? We're live
Yeah.
now.
Actually, I want to get home so I can watch
Hey.
this and learn how to break in these tires.
Yeah, but you don't want to stay, say hi,
Oh, you're
be
not
on
live?
the show? We're live.
okay.
We are.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go home and see how
All
this
right,
is done.
buddy. All right.
Take it easy, guys.
Hey,
Bye,
see you,
AJ.
AJ. So,
Ooh, that'll work pretty good right there.
there you go.
Yeah.
How about that one?
Portland RC, Talking Shop Live. We're good.
All right, cool. Let's hope it stays that way, right?
Sure.
Awesome. Ooh, what was that?
Wow, I'm scared.
This scared the crap out of myself.
Let's see, we already got Sal. Hi, Sal. Yo, that car.
What's up, boss?
That makes his eggplant hard.
Yeah, he's always in the dough.
We got Steven Weller on tonight. He's here.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Penny Zimmerman's on. Sweet. Good evening, Skunk Boss.
Hi, Skunk.
Skunk Boss is our like #1 fan.
We're still trying to figure out how to get him down here, though.
So Emnut Moyer is on right now from the bar because it's his birthday.
Yes, it is.
So happy birthday there.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Got Dave
Well,
Moore.
we already covered the shout out.
Well, you didn't inform
Sorry.
me, so
So, hey, shout out of the week.
no,
a little early, right?
we'll be fine. He's drinking. He's been drinking heavily for at least 2
He'll
hours
forget.
now. We'll do it again. Sky Kazokas is also watching. What's up, Scott? Fan weeks ago, I was a varmint. Skunk, remember when I called him a varmint? Skunk Boss? Dave Moore, are we going to learn something tonight? You hope to be.
Maybe. Possibly.
Here for some dancing, I'm out.
How did you forget that?
What?
How'd you forget that?
Oh, the lights? I don't know, because that's how I give. That's my tell if we freeze or not.
Ah.
Oh, jeez.
I'm sure he's gonna kill me then, huh?
Yeah, no kidding. I guess it's time to get ready for the outdoor season now.
Yeah, yeah.
Start working on
Yeah, there it
shocks
is.
and chassis and everything else.
We got mood lighting.
Aaron's back. Now Kyle's not.
Oh, that's right, I've seen that before.
Oh, there's Kyle.
What's the matter?
I turned the lights on.
He forgot our special effects.
Yeah, well, that's not my fault because we're turned the lights on.
It's raining LEDs.
Yep.
There you go, have a little karaoke.
Barry, take it away. Ooh, so Skunk Paws asked, which one is Barry and which one is Jim? Well, when Aaron finally sits down, we'll do our.
Go ahead
We'll
and do
actually
your
start
intro.
then.
I'll be right there.
All right. Well, we can start then.
Go ahead,
Jim,
start.
Jim is tan. He is tan. So there's Jim. That's Barry. Who are you?
I am Brandon. Who's Brandon?
Yeah, I agree.
Some guy.
Yeah, some guy that sits here all
So,
week.
I got a question though. Did you guys plan this, the match?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't- How about that? Yeah. Matching wardrobes.
Yeah.
Newscast.
I'll be the Kyle of the show.
I'll be your anchor, I guess. Or whatever that is.
And then Aaron is.
He's over there.
Yeah.
He's in the background.
He's messing with a
A
third
foreground.
You
Sorry.
like-
Aaron's just happy to not be playing in poop right now.
camera. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually have a
So,
flushing toilet.
when did that
Saturday
begin?
night.
Saturday night. And
Went
you
to take a shower and all of
Oh,
a sudden,
stomach bug.
and you went
No,
all
his sewer went
the way
out.
till about
Oh,
what?
Jesus.
about
Oh,
an
you're
hour
kidding.
ago?
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus.
Oh my God, my brother and his wife had that stomach bug.
Oh, I had a guy.
Man, they were down and out. She was in the hospital.
Yeah, yeah. A couple guys
I
were
was
working out
shocked.
around for 3 days. I said, holy jeez.
Not fun. Yeah.
The only time I got that, we took a cruise to Bermuda.
Oh, you got.
Right before I get off the ship, I got so friggin' sick I could barely walk down the ramp. Hit the big can at the end of the ramp.
Did you
Oh, yeah.
really?
Oh my God, that was horrible.
Oh, my Jesus.
I had that for like 3 days.
Well, while Aaron's setting up our third camera, it seems like we can go over for results from Pheasantland on Tuesday night.
Alright,
Yeah, I missed
yeah, we
that.
got a big stack
I didn't
for,
realize you guys were
Pheasantland,
running Sunday.
so,
I didn't hear the announcement, so I wasn't here.
Ah, that sucks.
Here I
we got a
come.
pretty big stack for Pheasantland, so.
Do we? That's good.
Yes, so Pheasantland, Tuesday night, we'll start off with 12T Crate Late. That was Pete Ludwig, Brian Stout, Mike Culp. 12T Sportsman was Brett Ludwig, Pete Ludwig, Chad Kohler. Big Block, we have Scott Shoemaker, Matt Miller, and Brian Stout. Mini Mud Boss would be Michael Culp, Brian Moyer, Dylan Moyer. Novice 12 turn, Kevin Kuzer. He's been looking pretty darn good
Yeah,
this week.
Kevin made a lot of progress this year.
Yes, he has. Tanner Zornick, he's finally back on the top. He's been looking good.
He's,
past
yeah,
few
he's
races.
came a long way.
Yep. And then Aiden Weller come rounding out the
Oh,
top
Aiden's
three.
been
Yeah,
fantastic, man.
he's been on the ball.
What a change, yeah, his driving has got fantastic.
Yes.
He's in and out of traffic now, he's not running into stuff.
Yep.
Man, he's had a killer year.
Even up on the driver, like in the other stand now, you could see him hitting the brake before he gets to the lap car.
Yeah.
To avoid it. Before he was just plowing in the back bumper and
Yeah.
sending the guy.
I
Yeah,
forget-
very,
I
very
forget if it
methodical,
was,
picks his spots.
I forget if it was Friday or Sunday. I heard you, I think it was, say that, whoa, Aiden even slams on the brakes for a lap car. I heard you say that, and I actually was watching him
Yeah,
recording.
his
and
driving
saw
was
that.
fantastic.
Yes.
Ooh, we need to time out real quick here because Skunk Paws gave you a compliment. From the side, Aaron looks like Jay Leno.
Get that chin profile going.
How many cars do you own, Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, you do own a lot of RC cars, so you could be the Jay Leno of RC.
There you go, yeah.
None of them are steam powered.
Well,
What about
we can
jet
change
power?
that.
Any jet power?
Yeah, we can get a steam generator,
Yeah, there you
that's
go,
all.
yeah.
We'll make it work.
Moving into Savage Sprint, we got Artie Greenman, Pete Ludwig, and Scott Shoemaker. SR10, Artie Greenman, Kyle.
Oh, that was me.
Took
Yeah,
second.
there you go.
That Carl?
Yeah.
Kyle.
Wow.
I think we ought to name second place podium me because that's all I get. And that's what that
Yeah,
ever.
you can't beat Artie.
I don't know what you guys
You
did
did
this year
once.
with the SR10s, but you guys are driving them things a lot better than you did last year. I couldn't even believe it was an SR10 race every time this year.
Do you know what the difference is now?
What is it?
People are actually putting subs in it.
Oh, is that what they're doing? You actually learn how to set them up?
I'll tell you, Artie was so hooked all year long.
Oh,
Man, I never saw anybody go, he was running better than a mud boss,
So-
a sportsman.
all year long, out of the Artie has lost 2 races. One he didn't show up for, so that's why he
There you
lost it.
go.
And the other one he flipped on the backwards and I finally beat him. That was the only time we won.
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah,
And
he's
rounding
been
out
the
top-
hot shoe in SR10.
Yeah.
And then rounding out the top three in SR10 was Alex Moyer.
Okay.
And Alex has been looking pretty darn good in the SR10,
Yeah.
as well as the Savage.
Alex, another guy, made a lot of progress.
Yeah, yeah, he's come a long way.
Man, he's been a really good driver, stable,
Yes.
very methodical.
Yeah, in 12 turn, he really
Absolutely.
tries a lot better than he did last year.
And then last class on Tuesday night, we got Vintage Mod. That was RJ Ralston, Sal Rufino coming out of retirement,
Wow,
Saudi.
and then Kyle. Again, you got third.
there you go.
Well, yeah, so my dummy butt over here did put a good battery in, and I died with 5 to go. But I didn't want to pass, so I kind of wanted to wreck RJ for Sal, and I couldn't do it.
So moving on to Pheasant Land Friday night, we'll go with 12T Crate Late. We had Pete Ludwig, Chad Kohler, and Bob Mangler.
Bob Mangler coming back out of retirement.
Yep, he's been looking all right.
Raced with him probably 20,
Long
back
time.
in the 90s. So how many, 30 years ago?
Wow.
Yeah, I raced with Bob. Bob's been around a long time.
12T Sportsman, we got Joe Ild, Chad Kohler, and Brett Ludwig. Not too much of a surprise there.
Those guys are dominant, that's for sure.
Oh my God, yeah.
They're hooked.
And then Big Block, Chad Kohler, Joe Ilg, and Bob Mangler again. Mini Mud Boss, we got Mike Culp, Shaky Shake, Rob Storms.
Ricochet Rob.
Ricochet
Or
Rob.
the harpoon.
You know, it was kind of funny. His car ended up over on the wall of the basketball hoop on Friday night.
I heard
Oh,
that.
jeez.
So, Novice 12T, we had Aiden Weller, Ray Horning, who's been looking pretty darn fast.
Yeah,
lately.
Ray's improved a lot too, yeah.
He
pretty
actually
steady
beat
now.
out Luke Barnt, who has been the fastest on the track on Friday nights.
All I know is Ray looked real good. Somebody set his car up.
Yeah, I wonder who.
I don't know.
I drove that car, it drives really good. Why
And it
couldn't
might-
you do it to yours?
I don't know. I think it's the used parts that are on it.
Maybe.
That's like an
It's a little loose.
you know.
I do the same. I can set
Ray's
somebody's
gotta get
car up
his
much
car
better
set
than I
up
can set
'cause he
my
can't
own.
drive
I
his
don't know
own.
why.
Oh, exactly. You know, so he, not to get Chad off the subject too bad here, but he didn't have a dirt car that ran good at all. I said, give me all the spare parts and I will build you a dirt car. I took my 1999 Stampede apart that I had from a kid, and I took parts off of that thing to build the car, and it flew. He won so many races in novice and everything, at Ultimate, and here with that car, I'm like, why does this car handle good? There's not the exact bolt, was just, I had a random bolts laying around, I threw in, some were stripped, I'm like, well, this is gonna have to work, that's all I got.
Yeah, that's why it works.
Yeah, I don't know. It drives me nuts sometimes with this stuff.
I hate it, it bothers me.
So moving into rookie, we had Brian Beaver, who hasn't been here too often. They just started coming, and he's been looking pretty good. Austin Zornick, he's been looking real good lately. And then we got Zoe Watches. She's really turned it around and looking great out there.
Yeah, she's feeling so good, she's giving us crap for not having videos of her, right?
That's funny.
So it'll be interesting to see if she'll bump up at all next year and run novice, or if they'll stay rookie. So any inside scoop, Aaron?
Yeah, do you got
I
inside
think she's
scoop on
gonna
this?
stay rookie for a little bit, at
Uh,
least for dirt.
Are you building her that car?
I am building her that car.
Well,
So Savage Sprint, we got Brett Ludwig, Alex Moyer, and Dean Ficarra. SR10, we got Joe Ilg, Aaron. You almost had that one. You were reeling Joe in pretty good on that. And then third place, we got Brett Ludwig. Last class of Friday night, we got Stephen Weller, Jay Stevens, and Jason Durr in vintage class.
Jason Durr.
Jason Durr.
Oh, boy.
Way to go, Jason.
Go Jason.
He was-
Austin looked good in that car.
He
I think
bought-
vintage might be his car, his
he
best.
jumped into Jason Miller new own Jason
Jesse,
Miller.
Jesse,
Jesse,
Jesse Miller.
Jesse Miller.
Yep.
Bought a car off of Colby,
Which was Shannon
Shannon's
Durr.
car.
Oh, okay.
And he jumped in and he got third, and
Yep.
apparently he looked good. I wasn't
Yeah,
there.
that's impressive.
So good for Jason.
Absolutely.
Jason's one of those guys that he comes out every week, races as hard as he can, and he deserves a podium.
Yes.
Yeah.
Finally got it.
He does. So Saturday, there was a very special race at Bloomsburg. Fairgrounds RC, driver for Damien. Great car count, and all with the charity. I heard it was a fantastic day. So, big block. Adam McGeorge, I think that's what you wrote. Tim Washburn second, Jason Corman third. 17.5 late model, Phil Marabella, Eric Belts, and friend of the show, Garrett Williamson gets third.
Well,
Fair 17.5 sprint. Another friend of the show, Aaron Miller, takes it. Aaron Miller's starting to look getting real hot.
Yep.
Aaron Miller's always been a good racer. I mean, back in the days when we had Thunder Road, he was
Well,
a good
maybe he
running
was
back
shot
then.
one.
He's been trying to come on for a long time. He's been trying to come on since we had the show, and we just keep putting him off for some reason.
I want to have him. He's a nice
He's a good guy. Yeah, he's a good guy.
We have too many Aarons as so as it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we need another Kyle.
I don't
Do
think
we
so.
really need another Kyle?
You don't even need the one you got. You
I
know.
mean, I don't need another Brandon. We got some
We could do
Brandons
Lesher,
out.
yeah. All right, so Cowboy Risser was second, and Phil Marabella third again. Creighton late model, Chuckles. Chuck Eccles takes the win.
That guy races everywhere.
He does.
I mean, he's over Jerry Hoagland's, he's up at the fairgrounds, he's over at Alderman, he's here. I mean, he's everywhere.
Rob Moore second, and Ryan Bibbs third. Fair, micro, mid-get. We're gonna go by this. We're gonna mid-get.
Something like that.
Yeah.
The small car.
Cowboy Risser, Ryan Bibbs, and Mike Colt takes third. Fair novice, Dwayne Lindenmuth. No idea if I said that wrong.
I think that's
Sounds
Lyndon
good.
Muth.
Lindenmuth, Willie Mammoth, I don't know. Mike Cimbala second, and Terry Davis third.
Yes, Terry. He's been looking great. Absolutely great.
Novice under 16, Coben Zartman, Cooper Parr, and Jace Hollenbach. And then 12T Stock Mud Boss, Mike O'Brien. I've never heard of him. Have you?
Never heard like a
No, doesn't ring a bell.
Josh Sharpstein and Matt Burns.
This is 12T.
12T Stock Mud Boss.
Sounds like it was a old group new set of guys up there.
Yeah, I don't recognize any of the top three names.
Unless those guys came in from out of
Congratulations.
state somewhere, maybe.
Maybe.
New York or something,
But straight stock, Mike O'Brien again. So he came out of nowhere. Maybe he never ran before. It's his first day. He
First
just
day
jumped
racing.
in.
The first day luck. The
So
first
Mike
race
O'Brien,
luck.
if you're around, let us know. We
Well,
want to know
for
you're
sure, he
sure.
must have been hooked up.
Yeah. Scott Davey second, and the Iron Man, Kurt Nicholas
We
third.
know that guy.
We do know that guy. Wingless sprint, Scott Kazokas. Carter Rodchinsky second.
Jumping in a wingless.
Jumping in a wingless sprint, man. And he's another one. You give him hands, you give him hands, he will drive, and he's gonna fly.
It's pretty impressive there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then running out on driver David race would be Fred Troutman. Terry Davis comments some came from out of state.
Oh, wow, that's good to hear.
And I forgot,
Hi, Terry.
I didn't get the results, but they also had a kick-ass figure eight race.
Yes.
And go on, since he's on, we'll give Barney a love. Check out Barney Tan either on Facebook or TikTok. And I think,
saw
He's got a YouTube channel
I saw
too.
he
Oh,
had some
and it-
video of it.
yeah, and
Marty does.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That sounds like fun.
it does like sound like fun. Do you want to go over their Sunday there?
Yeah, we can move into Sunday. We had a little fun free day, sort of banquet, I guess you could consider it, that we had here for our points. So 12T Crate Late, Brian Stout, Pete Ludwig, and Chad Kohler.
Brian Stout looked
Really?
fantastic in the
Brian,
race.
Brian's been huge, another one.
Yeah.
He's been really stepping
Setup.
up in the,
I know Chad, I think, helped him a little bit there, but he's really come around.
yes.
First year racing. I think.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah.
He's doing well with it.
12T Sportsman, we got Brent Ludwig, Chad Kohler, and myself.
So you're moving up on a novice next year?
So this wasn't the car that
No,
you
it was
ran.
not. That is still broken from Friday.
You jumped in the new.
I jumped in my new car.
You,
Nice.
He pulled in and got a JGR.
You made a smart move.
Wow,
I
When I saw you turned a 5-0 on Sunday, I'm
that's
like,
impressive.
he either cut through the infield or he's driving one of their cars.
But
Yeah, he sat there and counted 2, 3, 4.
I sat there at the line and got it.
so in the heat race, I did the most.
Oh.
I timed the start perfectly in the heat race. Didn't jump at all. And he.
I started on the pole. Kyle started outside pole in the second.
This is, so I had my car.
Where were you wide open by? Middle of turn 3 and 4?
Right as soon as the buzzer dropped, he went wide open.
No, I'm gonna say I was waiting. Brooke goes, all right, sound the tone, and I was like, 1, 2,
Go!
and I took off, and then the buzzer went off, so I had a good like 5-car length lead on the field.
I thought he was just jumping out to the front
Yeah.
because I heard him let off, and then I heard him get back on, and then I'm like, nope, I'm not going slow. I'm just everybody else behind got it too.
And it wasn't Mirko, it was John Beer and Brett Ludwig announcing, so I knew they weren't going to restore it because they didn't know how to do it. And
You took
so,
advantage of that situation,
Yeah, you
didn't
did.
you?
oh yeah, I definitely did. And then, so he catches up to me, and
I messed up a little bit. Go back. I did it like what, 3 times?
2 or 3 he catches up to me finally.
Getting used to the car.
And coming off 2, he just plows through me, jumps me. Innocent bystander, his new teammate, Luke Barnes on the outside. Somehow,
Collateral damage.
both right side shock caps on my car and Luke's car go flying off.
Oh my God.
All in a span of 1 corner.
You deserve that for jumping the start.
Luke did not know. Luke did not.
No, collateral damage.
Hey, if
like,
you
you
can't
know,
pass
sorry,
it,
Luke.
drive through them.
That was just payback for the start.
And that was payback for whatever Luke's going to do next year. I guess.
Yeah. No, that was payback. That collateral damage that Luke had, that was just payback for him beating me all the time.
Oh, you sure did.
Hi, Alex. Alex Boyer, he's on Washington.
If you gotta hit him for every time he beat you, I mean, that's a lot of hits.
He's gonna
I
need
don't think he's gonna make it through a season.
He's going to need a new car.
I mean, he won every race. You lost every one.
Especially there at the end.
You sure did.
All right,
Oh.
what's up?
So big block, there was only 2. We had Chad Kohler and AJ Zeltner running his big block, his brand new big block that he just got.
How it was.
So not that great. He's just jumping into it, just learning it. So I think he's planning on running that on the dirt anyway. So.
It looked good because you put a new body on it that looks fantastic.
Yes.
Black and orange body looks awesome. A little loose for AJ.
Yep.
A little loose.
Yeah, he's used to that car.
It's a
being
big
on
step
the
up
rails.
from running novice for the first time and I wanna
Jumping up into a big
Yeah.
block.
Yeah, the weight transfer is huge
especially
difference.
on this track.
You got second though.
Yes.
I mean,
That
that's
was like a
impressive.
stacked
Something
field
to be
of
said
20.
about that.
That was like a stacked field of 20 cars,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
if you didn't say only 2, we could have made
Caught up in a couple accidents there and traffic, left traffic, paused, frozen.
Applause.
This is the one.
So it looks good right now.
that was just
Looks good right now. Is it back?
Yeah,
Facebook guy.
All right, any moment it's gonna ask me to reconnect.
Facebook car? You went sideways.
No, I can't get to go back either.
Got a counter steer. Then get it back. Counter steer, maybe lift a little.
Yeah, we're back.
All good?
AJ said that was just fun. That was just to run it and mess around. Yeah, we're good, Aaron. We're good too.
Alright,
Oh.
so I guess we'll recover novice. So that was Aiden Weller, Kevin Kuzer, and Ron Ditzler. So Aiden looked awesome. He looked pretty smooth out there. Kevin, he ended up getting tangled up a little bit in some lap traffic, but still ended up second. And Ron Ditzler, he was looking all right there too.
He was.
I think he did a little messing around with his setup. So
Ron worked on his car?
he might have. So Savage Sprint, we got Alex Moyer, Sean Horning, and Kermit Horning.
So that was
And that was
Savage Sprint.
yeah, Savage Sprint. The heat race, Alex ran his wing, like that car, and then Sean and Herm they came to run wingless.
They were like 17.5 sprints.
Yeah. So
Those cars came off the track from Bloomsburg to here, and they just ran out. We didn't have any sprint cars here, and I was like, "Oh, I want to run a sprint car." I'm like, "Oh, we'll win the class. Don't worry."
So the feature then, Alex actually wound up taking his wings off and running wingless with all 3 cars on.
And he looked even better with
Yes,
that wing on.
yes. So his downfall might be that wing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder when they saw the pictures, it's like, well, nobody had wings on the car, it's like, what the heck were they doing there?
So SR10, we got Chad Kohler, Luke and Mark Gordon. And Chad jumped in the, what do they call that car?
Oh, yeah. Clark Griswold. The Clark Griswold
car. Yes.
with the wood grain.
Yeah, it has the wood
Oh, it's
grain
got
down
a
the
wood grain
side.
side.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got a gold down the side. So it looks
Yeah.
like it's got the wood grain down the
Which
side.
we forgot to
Family
mention.
truckster.
We forgot to mention in novice, 12T Sportsman, and SR10. All of the drivers put $5 in. Winner takes all. Dude, you don't understand how. I jumped in Ron Galley's car for the feature because I was like, well, we're in for money. I told him, I said, dang it, come.
Facebook's back, yeah.
I'm telling you, so this place is actually haunted, and it goes plays with the Wi-Fi back there.
Unplugged.
Well, look where you're at.
Unplugged,
You're
yeah,
in the middle of
it's back.
nowhere.
You're gone, Aaron.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay.
No, he's not. He's gone.
All right, so back to the results.
Where were we? Vintage. Aiden Weller.
Wow.
Aiden Weller jumped in Steve's car.
There he
Steve
was.
ran the heat, and then Aiden jumped in for the feature.
Yeah, and I made Aiden start in turn 1.
Yep.
because
There you go.
Yep.
There you go.
And he drove around.
He did.
Fantastic.
I'm more impressed with the guy in second than Stack brand new car.
Yes, that was Pete Cipolla coming in second.
Wow.
Pete said that was the funnest car he's ever driven so far.
That's good.
Those vintages are fun. I mean, that is
Yeah,
just
I
a
definitely
fun.
think I'm building one.
Yeah,
for
those
next
things are
season.
fun to run. I mean, I love running mine.
So they're just a blast.
And then coming in third, we got Jesse Miller.
Yep.
With that new car. So.
Wow.
I'm just tired of having my vintage follow Barry all season long.
And then we did one more race on Sunday. We took all the people that did not win a race.
AJ said to call it the losers race, so we're gonna call it the losers
The
race.
losers race? Okay. So everybody that did not end up, on winning a race or on podium?
Nope, not winning a race all season.
So not winning any race all season. That was AJ Zeltner, John Beer, and Ron Ditzler.
John Beer.
Wow.
John Beer had the race of his life. He came from the back, wrecked, came back up to the front and got wrecked by the lap car with like
Yes.
5 or 6 to go.
Yes.
And AJ just stayed consistent.
Yes. I was actually rooting for John Beer and AJ. I was hoping one of those two guys would win, and they went 1 and 2, so I was happy. So,
I think that's it.
That's it for racing. So we can cover points.
We'll do that later. We got 2 winner results. Let's just jump into the action of these 2.
Oh,
What do you say?
action.
Yeah.
Action, go.
So, my first question is, how long have you two known each other? Because
Oh my
whenever
God.
you hear Barry Rosenberg or Jim McNabb, it's always you guys are together.
Well,
Been a while.
you and me got together at Quakertown, right?
Either that or Hatfield. When we had that, but before that race.
Yeah, but we known each we knew
Yeah,
each other
because
long before we started the hobby shop.
I was gonna say, because even back then, 663 or 662, what was that? What was the shop there? The Flight Box?
Oh,
Mark's
Hobbies.
Mark's Hobbies.
Mark's Hobbies. Yeah, well, we knew. Yeah, that was
We
back
raced
in.
at Mark's Hobbies,
That was what, 83,
and that'd be mid-80s.
84?
No,
Yeah.
it was later than that.
Was it later than that?
Yeah, it was about 87, 88.
Was it that late?
Yeah, I think we were even racing
Okay.
still like 89, 90.
But that's when you were running, we were running RC10s and you had your Tamiya Fox. And
No
nobody
Tamiya
could-
Fox,
Nobody could beat that sucker.
It was me, Jeff Embody, and Steve.
Yeah, Jeff?
Oh, I had one too.
You had one too? Yeah, you
But
had one too.
I was still underage, so I mainly ran the
But I
junior
remember
class.
when we started running those things, nobody could keep up with them, and then nobody knew why they were so fast, and they worked, and they were destroying the RC10s around here. And I'll never forget, we were racing in Alberta's, and Floor, Jake, Ed Krupa, all those guys were racing, and we were kicking their asses with those Foxes. They couldn't figure out what the hell we were doing. But those things worked. We found something that works with those things, and it just
They were just so light.
they were
That,
light.
so were the
The
RC10.
transmissions weighed
Yep.
absolutely nothing in them.
Yeah.
And you put a Thorpe diff in them, and that dual shot kit on the front, and those
it was
things were
ready to go.
gone, man.
Maybe sway bars.
Yeah, well, I didn't run sway bars. I just ran
Inside you usually.
that. Yeah, that was a Red Fox. I guess is that what that was called back then?
Oh yeah, the,
Yeah,
the
Red
hot
Fox
trick.
kit. Yeah,
Red
that
Fox.
was Red Fox dual
I
shot
built
kit.
one of those.
Steve
and
says
I don't know what happened to it.
1987.
87.
Yeah, I thought it
Okay.
was around the mid-80s.
Okay.
So, you told me, you did own hobby shops back in the day.
I had started with RC Speed and Hobbies in
In
Northampton.
Northampton, yeah.
And then from there, I moved to Hatfield.
And that started in my bedroom.
And that's.
Actually, Hatfield Raceway started in my bedroom.
Yeah,
That's where it started at.
very funny.
And then we got the place in Hatfield, which is owned by a friend of mine that there used to be a Hatfield pharmacy. And he moved to Florida and he ended up for rent, so we ended up getting it from them. And started that, and then where we go Saturday. But then you started Race Place.
Well, then Tom, it's kind of funny how that was. He came up to race, to wish me a Merry Christmas and stuff, and said he was getting out of the shop. And I said, "You gotta be kidding." I said, "Why would you do that?" And he said, "Well, just help is tough. My wife doesn't want to do it anymore, and it's time to move on." So we sat there and talked at the holiday, and January we put a deal together, and February bought the shop.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Jeez.
So 26 years.
Is that how long it was up there? My God.
26 years. I can't believe it. I used to always joke around, if I last 10, I'll be lucky.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, in the hobby business, you last 5 years, you're lucky.
Yeah, well, we had a good customer base. Tom had a good clientele, and we were able to hang on to a lot of them.
Yeah.
And the rental track for the kids, I mean, my God.
Well, that's where it was always at. Yeah.
Parents would come in every week. Oh, they couldn't wait for Friday to come. They couldn't wait for Saturday to come.
Yeah.
We still do that. We can't wait for Friday to Tuesday to go.
And rent slot cars, yeah, that was a big thing. But, yeah, there's a lot of shops on, Lugnut up there.
Lugnut, yeah, well, they moved
at the time.
Well, Ray was working for us.
Yes.
Well, he was there when you were there, right?
Yep,
Yeah, okay. And then him and Ron Rakowski, they started
they
Lugnut.
got together and started Lugnut.
Down
Yep.
in Montgomeryville, at the market there. And then we kept going in Hatfield, and then we ended up moving to Souderton. And then we ended up moving to Limerick, and then that's where we ended up in Limerick. And that was a big, the guys that ran down there, that was a big area we ran in. That was 10,000 square foot. That was a big place.
So I know we were talking off camera here, but you guys have run some big races in the past.
Oh yeah, I've been. It's funny. I started off when I started racing. It was in '72, and there was no 10 scale. There was absolutely no 10 scale didn't exist.
12th was every day.
12 was everything, and 8 scale. And I started with South Jersey Radio Control Racing Association, and we started racing down there. And they had a place that was big. It was a dual hockey rink, asphalt dual hockey rink that they flooded in the winter, but in the summer we used it for RC racing. And I started down there racing 12 scale and 8 scale.
Yeah, that was all on
Two-wheel
road,
drive.
right?
No, that was road course.
Yeah, on road, yeah.
On road, yeah.
Yep.
That was on road, asphalt. And then in the winter, we'd go 12 scale indoors. We used to run in the supermarket in Williamstown, I think it was. But the guys that ran there, I don't think any of them are alive anymore except for me. I mean, I don't know anybody that I started racing with that's still racing there. There's a lot of live guys that are still around. But most of the guys that I raced with are either dead or just gave up the hobby. But I'm still doing it. But I mean, I raced with Bob Emmett, who, if you know, Bob Emmett is like one of the biggest slot car racers in the country.
Big time, yeah.
And I used to race, I don't know if you with Tony P. and Ernie Pervetti.
Oh my God.
We used to race with Ernie Pervetti when those guys, before Trinity even
Yeah,
existed.
because they were from Trinity.
Trinity was just getting started when we were doing, Tony and Ernie were just getting started. We used to race over in Edison, New Jersey on a road course there, and those guys were tearing everything up. And those guys were innovators. I mean, Tony P is like one of the he's not with us anymore either, but he's one of the biggest model masterminds of anybody out there. This guy's unbelievable. And but I mean, I raced with a lot of these like top guys. That's where I started at. I mean, then I went to 8 scale all-wheel drive cars. And back then they were doing 90 miles an hour. Back there, had two and 3-speed transmissions in them, all-wheel drive. And from there, I went to 8 scale. Quarter scale. We were the first big club in the South Jersey. Was the first quarter scale club in the country, and I actually wrote the original rules for quarter scale racing in the country, and they still use them today. But the WCM was a quarter scale. They were the only ones that were making these cars back then, and we had the biggest following in the country. And WCM got a hold of me because I was the head of the quarter scale club down there. And he said, well, what kind of rules you guys use and how's things going? And I said, well, we're doing this, we're doing that. And he said, well, how'd you like to draw up a set of rules? I said, all right. So I drew up a set of rules. It took me about 6 months to get a set of rules together. And actually today, they're still using 90% of those rules that I originally drove up.
Wow.
So that's how far back that goes. But, you know, the funny thing is, 10 scale, when that came out, I was racing when Bowling came out with this eliminator, and it was still, I believe it was still driven with a resistor, because the electronic speed controls weren't around yet. There was still a slot car, there was a servo that ran on a slot car controller resistor. And that's how you drove those cars back then, with a servo,
Yeah,
with
and it was funny, the thing today, when you look at the electronics, people that didn't drive those, they were delayed, they had a delay to them because of the resistor movement.
Right.
Until you would get that loss from the resistor to the motor, you'd have somewhat of a delay.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
And when you cornered and stuff, you had to figure that in, you had to be thinking
It was-
of getting into corners with that thing.
You really had to hit your marks.
When you drove with those Tamayas and the three-speed forward mechanical,
Yeah, right.
all you had was 3 speeds.
yeah, right,
It
right,
was
exactly.
Low, medium, high.
Yeah,
Learned where he started. How about you? Where did you start out racing?
Oh, gosh, I mostly played in the beginning, and then when I met up with Barry and a lot of the local tracks, and I just started playing and dabbling then. And then we were running up at Danielsville in the roller skating rink.
Danville.
That's where I met Jake and
Yep.
and
Oh,
those
oh,
guys.
yeah,
that
yeah,
was a
yeah,
great
yeah.
place.
I thought I was nuts, man. I had my Tamiya Falcon. I was gonna go in and clean
I
up.
remember you having that.
Yeah, and I got my head handed to me. So the next week I went down to Race Place and bought another C10.
C10, yeah.
I
And
know,
the
I
rest
got-
is history. From there I took the bait and always liked dirt a lot better, but floor was fun.
Yeah,
We
and it
raced
wasn't
on,
floor like this. You gotta remember, we weren't allowed tire prep. And that had to be a roller skating rink that night.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
yep.
So, you know, you couldn't have any tire prep on there, so we used those crazy knobby tires.
Schumacher.
Yeah, the
pins.
cat, Schumacher
Yeah.
cats.
Schumacher cat. Those, and there were front tires all the way around.
Yep.
And you had a big side dam on a Dominator. And then we got big into Dominator four-wheel drive Dominators when they came out, but
They were
Those were a
incredible.
thing of beauty.
those were
Yeah,
so much
and
fun.
those
to
were
run.
actually chain drive.
Yeah, yeah.
And they used a lot of them back then, they were just experimenting with one-way bearings.
Yeah.
So when you would turn, the car would turn better,
Yeah.
because the bearing would lock and keep it
Backwards,
turning.
yeah.
But a lot of times what happened with that, you'd break the one-way bearing, and then the tire would back up anyway. So you could always tell if you went in and you pushed like a plow, you know the one-way bearing was broke.
So, this is gonna be a loaded question, but your favorite racetrack did you guys ever race on?
Megatrack.
I was gonna say, has to be
Absolutely
Megatrack.
Megatrack, without a doubt.
Man, that was
That was the track. I mean,
talk
that-
about high speed.
high speed, and I never felt so out of place when I first went. It took me 6 months to finish a race. That's how, that track was brutal on cars. I mean,
Yeah.
and back then you used to have frequency pins.
Yes.
So you get some I mean, and you gotta understand, Megatrack in itself was like a one-of-a-kind track. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
There was other ones, but
Imagine Daytona, but for RC
Daytona,
cars.
yeah, it was Daytona and an RC track that
That was
a
like-
weeknight race was 200 and some people.
Yes.
And that's two classes, that's it, two classes.
Yep.
The big races were 350 to 500. That was, and that,
Back then, we usually only had 2 classes. It
yeah, and that was it, you had
stock,
modified and stock,
And then
that
you would
was
have
it.
junior classes.
Yeah.
That would be.
No, there
the-
wasn't, there was modified and stock, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah,
it was.
nothing else.
And I'm telling you, man, when Steve was with us, I mean, between Steve, Jimmy, like Jake Floor,
Yep.
Rob Cutman, I raced with Joel Magic Johnson. I actually broke Joel Magic Johnson's track record down there on that mega track. I was the first one to break that with a stock motor, and then of course everybody else had changed motors, and that all went by the wayside. But Steve was always fast. Steve was always running good. Steve Weller.
We'll link to a video of that, 'cause
Jake-
we have a video of Steve there, and I think you guys
Yeah,
too,
yeah, me, Jake, there's Jake, me, Bud Bardos, Rob Cutman, Joel Johnson. There's a couple more guys in there that were big time racers back then, and we'd crank around that track like there was no tomorrow. I mean, and batteries were everything. I mean, you sitting on those lines we used to have battery packs that were charged, and you used to sit on with the SCRs and sit there and bang them batteries till right before the start. You actually had 2 battery packs mounted in a box with a button on it, and you'd sit there at the line and keep hitting that box. That those batteries got so hot you couldn't believe it.
Dr.
And
Al-Rosi's
Dr.
juice box.
Al-Rosi's juice
Remember
box,
that?
yeah. And you'd sit there and heat them batteries up and go like a bat out of hell. I mean, those
Just to
things
give you an
were-
idea when that was, 1,200 milliamp batteries were the nuts.
Yeah.
That was it.
1200
There was nothing
milliamp
else.
Yeah.
And that's
We
when I
never-
get into matching batteries.
We never talked about burst or anything like that. It was
Yeah.
just whatever those batteries got.
Yeah.
You would buy single cells and you would try to match them.
Yeah.
Yes.
To get the pack as close as
Exactly,
possible.
yeah.
So Skunk Boss commented, says, funny how a lot of these guys start at roller rinks. That's where I got my start, with a Tamiya Wild Willie.
Oh,
Holy
wow.
my
jeez,
God.
jeez.
That's not even close to a race car.
That's like a race car.
They used alcohol for prep to take the dust off.
There you go.
Wow.
And Sal comments, I did my first pro racing wing car race in Florida last year. I met a few guys who knew Barry. We really are fortunate to be around with these guys. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I got a good name around the world. I mean, I ship a lot of stuff out, and slot cars probably more than RC. But I used to ship stuff all over the place, and like I said, I'm probably know more in slot car racing than I am in RC, probably. But I don't. But
So
I love both of them.
we'll start another. I got another question. Another loaded question, either. What's a good thing what's improved from like when you guys started when it was real big, and what's really you think has really gone downhill and made it worse for both of you?
For me, electronics. Electronics has made huge advancements. I mean, when you look at the motors back then, a lot of them were sealed, the stock motors. You couldn't take them apart. You couldn't do anything. Standard 27 turn armature. And it was all about getting the brushes seated properly and knowing what to do to get a little bit of timing in the motor, that you had a little bit of an advantage. But now with these electronic controllers and these brushless systems, the power is phenomenal compared to what we had. So electronics is one of the biggest things. And I also have to say shocks. Shocks came a long way. You know, the Associated were probably one of the early ones that had a metal body and were decent. And, you know, you learned how to build them, work with the pistons, but today even the plastic shocks are good.
Yeah, I mean, I used to run Kyosha. I had all
Yeah,
the
that
RC
was-
fans
that
had
was a
Kyosha
premier
shocks.
Kyosha Gold.
Yeah, the Kyosha Gold shocks.
Yep.
And their springs, because their springs
Yeah.
are just much better than everybody else's.
Well, that's the other thing,
Yeah.
spring technology.
Yeah,
I mean, now they even have these spring, you can get, like a spring dyno to check your rates and stuff like that to match, and we didn't have any of that.
But I still think that in all the years that I've been racing, even today, that
Oh, absolutely.
you can actually take apart. It was just like real racing. You could take the motors apart, you come back off the run, especially like Megatrack. You bring the things back in, you cut the comms, put new brushes in them, seat them, ready to go, and go out to the next round. And it was just, there was so much more to the sport back then, actually getting things correct and doing it right. And when you did it right, it showed. I mean, it was amazing. And that's where guys, you know, our age, you know, and today, you know, learned how to work these stock motors, and you know, that's where I came up. The comm sticks that I make, that's where all that came from. That technology back in the 80s and 90s. That, you know, how to keep the comms clean, take care of the brushes, and all that
One
stuff.
of the
How to
things
break
there,
them in.
speaking of that Megatrack, that's where I learned to draft. You remember that one, don't you?
Jimmy was in a race.
Oh,
and
my
he was,
God.
I don't know what main it was, but it was one of the races down there. And I was I used to pit his cars for him. So the race started, and I stood underneath the driver's stand because it was about 15 feet in the air. And Jimmy was doing real well, and he got past, I don't know, one or two guys got by him coming around the corner, and he's trying to catch him in transition. And I'm yelling, and you got to realize that the straight on Megatrack was probably 200 feet long,
I was
probably.
gonna say at least 175 feet.
Yeah, 175 feet, 200
Yeah.
feet long, right? And from there you go into a real hard bank to the left, and then a swoop into the second corner, and then another hard left leading you on the straight. But you come out of that turn 3, and you could actually, the cars are going so fast that you could get behind the guy in front of you and actually draft him. So Jimmy's trying to catch him, and I'm yelling, draft him, get behind him. And he's going, what? I said, get behind him, draft him. He says, what? I said, get behind the car. He comes up behind him, and boom, he comes right up on the guy, passes him and goes around. I was like, geez, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
But those cars were going so fast, it was like a real race
And that
car.
was the thing for laps, you know, I'm coming out of the corner, I'm coming right up, and I'm there, and we're like this, and I just can't catch this guy. And then he's yelling, I'm trying to think, what the hell's he trying to tell me? And all of a sudden, I come out of the corner, I come up behind a guy, and about halfway down the straightaway, no lie, and I'm squeezed like I was all those laps before, and all of a sudden, I'm thinking, what the hell is that? You know? And he starts to go up to make his turn in, and I went down under him and walked right past. And I said to him after it done, I said, man, I almost shit myself. I said, that was so much friggin' fun, I couldn't believe it.
So,
Yeah, but-
Steve says 1989, 1990 with Megatrack. And we have a couple of Skunk Boss. And with the radios, with those telescopic antennas, you had to be careful not to poke someone in the eye on the driver's fan. And before we had on a show, you were saying that the one guy arrived.
Danny Vance, and Steve will know that. Steve Washington, he'll know. He used to hit, when Denny was racing, he'd be a nervous wreck, he'd be like this, right? So the antenna's whipping back and forth, and everybody, Jake and everybody's running, fish on, you know, and it just looks like the guy's trying to reel with the thing, and he's going down the straight shaking. And then one day on the straightaway, we were in a race, in a big race, he got so excited he dropped his leg around my leg when we were racing. It's like, Daddy, what the heck you doing? He said, oh Jesus, I'm sorry. I said, God Almighty, and laughed. Oh my God, it was crazy. It was just a good time.
So,
And, we'd go down there at 6 o'clock in the morning and come home at 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Mark Clausey says you had to make sure the battery in your real full-size car was good, so you could charge your toy car. If you see a bunch of car hoods open, you knew there was an RC car racing.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's true. Yeah, we used to race in fields. That was where you did, especially even Jersey. They didn't have power down there. You raced off your car battery. You know, that's what you had. We used to charge off our car batteries down there.
So, did you guys? I'm assuming you had to. You guys raced at the Bordertown Pool.
I raced there once or twice when Charlie Good was running it, and I didn't race there a whole heck of a lot. I didn't. I was racing. I was too busy. Let's see. I think I was racing on road then. I don't think I was racing with dirt modifieds or anything like that. I believe I was doing something else at that time in that pool. I know what was going on because I know Jeff Embody was running there. I know.
Yeah.
That's where my dad and my uncle used to race.
Yeah. So I know that, and then who was the cop's name that used to run that? Joe Stedman, that's it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Joe, oh my God.
Joe Stedman.
That's a name, yeah.
Yeah.
Steve says egg timers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys that don't know this stuff, back in the day, we used to use an egg timer, and there's little things that, you go to Costco that they count people going in and out with. Well, we used to have a board of 8 of those things, and we used to tie little felt flags to our antennas when the cars had antennas on them, and that's how you counted laps.
Yeah, we had different color felt.
Yeah, a different
Use a
color
clothespin
felt.
to clip it on.
Every time the car went by, you called that collar out, and they hit, each thing had a color on it, and you just sit there and do this all night long.
Or we did stop racing.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
there was a wreck,
there was
there's a
a
caution.
wreck, it kept going. You're all by time, 4-minute races, and that was it. But that's how we did it back in the day. It's fun.
So, but improvement would be transponders for that, I would say.
Oh, the biggest thing was transponders. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was probably the biggest to make racing fun. I mean, that was the biggest, probably the biggest improvement.
Guys want to complain about a $110 transponder, but when you're out there trying to click laps, you're like, well, I'll take the $110 transponder.
Yeah.
Well, some places they had transponders and you would get assigned a transponder for that race.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, the tracks had the A and B had the little square they were about an inch square, and the tracks, you'd go up, tech in before the race, then they'd give you your transponder for the next race. Then you come back, tech the car out, take your transponder out, put it back in the charger for the next guys coming down. So they had like three sets of transponders they would switch all day long.
So Dave Moore asked, he said, ask Barry or Jim if they remember the Hobby House in Downingtown, 315-foot center line.
I never raced with them
No, I
on
didn't race with that one either.
Yeah, never. However, you want to talk about a big track. That mega track was a 400.
476.
No, it wasn't that big. It was 25, I think.
Oh, that's right, the straight, I'm thinking of the straight,
Yeah.
175, yeah.
After Megatrack, when Megatrack was on its way out, I went to work for a place over in Glassboro, New Jersey called the Grand Oval. Now, the Grand Oval at that time was a 32-lane bowling alley that was converted. And they took all the lanes out, and we put a big carpet track in it. It was probably twice the size of this place. All right, so we had a big carpet track in there, and that would get 300 to 400 guys on the weekend. It was humongous. It was a really neat place to run. But outside, after they started the carpet, before they closed this place up, I built the biggest dirt oval track in the country. It was 450 foot. There was a 450 foot center line that you could race cars side by side on, big cars. We got the clay from Bridgeport, and we had a guy come in, and actually New Jersey Power and Light put these big lights in, and we used to run Dominators up there, 7-cell Dominators with 10-turn motors in it. And you're going so fast down that straightaway that the bodies would cavitate. You actually had to support the whole inside of the chassis to keep the body from just enveloping on itself when you're going down the straight. That's how fast those Dominators were going. But man, you want to have some fun on the dirt track. That thing was phenomenal. But that didn't last. I think that only lasted about a year, maybe. I think I was there before it all folded up. But that was the biggest dirt track in the country and it still is. I don't think anybody's ever built anything that big. I mean, it was amazing. You couldn't water it. You just drove on it. It was so big you couldn't. Plus, you get down the straightaway, the car before you got to the end of the straightaway, the track was dry. You just couldn't put enough water on it.
So Chad, are you listening when you're building your track out there? You gotta go bigger.
Bigger's better. Believe me, you can have a lot of fun on a big track with wide. And it was a wide. I mean, the track was probably. I gotta believe that track was almost 100 foot wide.
Wow.
Yeah, it was almost 100 foot wide. So I think it was 100. Yeah, it was almost 100 foot wide because the straightaways were almost 150 foot, 175 foot.
So before we get into your demonstration with tires,
Yeah.
we gotta ask you. I gotta ask you. How do you know the Joker behind the camera? How long have you known Aaron?
I've known Aaron, man, Jimmy and I, when he was a little shit.
Still is a little bit.
I think I got into it when I was about 14, 15.
Yeah. I can remember you and your dad always used to come in the back way between the bushes.
Yeah.
The
Parked over on the other
Parks
side.
Hobbies, and you guys were low budget as it gets.
I ran the junior classes.
Yeah,
So every once in a while I'd go up and, we'd run those sprint car races on Sundays and there were no junior classes, so then I get to run with the adults. And I still remember remember that 50-lap turkey trot we had?
Yeah.
Yes, and Ed Krupa was in it.
Yeah.
And Weller decided he was gonna do a live pit stop to change batteries, and that did not work. And they said, at 25 laps, we're gonna stop and change batteries, but he's like, no, I'm gonna do it on my own.
Yeah.
And then after that, I made myself up all the way from the D main. I did a stupid thing and tried some different tires. Remember those diamond cutout tires?
Yeah.
I tried those, they didn't work.
No.
I'll tell you right now, they don't work. And made myself all the way up from the D main, and then, I think there were 7 to go. And I'm leading Ed Krupa for 10 laps. And he couldn't get by me. That was like, I'm gonna get this and win $50. And that was big money back then.
that was big money, yeah.
Oh, man.
So,
Remember, we also got live turkeys?
Yeah.
Yes, I gave mine to Gary Stignuts and he
What the hell
took
am I
to his
supposed to
dad.
do with a live turkey?
Yes. Took it home. His dad take it home with him.
Legit,
Yes, in a cage,
live
in a
turkey.
cage.
Oh
Yep.
my
Yeah.
goodness.
I feel like if we did that down, PETA would have a very bad note on Merkel's door.
Yeah, fine.
So
It's
Mark,
still alive, it's not dead.
I don't. Okay.
Hold on 1 second, let me change battery here.
Okay. Well, I'll just quick here throw Mark's question out there. Well, not question, but you just talk about expenses. I wasn't in the RC hobby long when I was a kid. You go broke buying parts back then. It's amazing how durable the cars are now.
Yeah, very true.
Batteries were big back in our day. It still is today, but it's nowhere near. When you had the SCRs, they were 70, a premium pack back then was $70 to $80.
60, 70 bucks, yeah.
Right? And
Typical pack was 45.
yeah, 45. A race pack, I know but if I had to buy the light speeds packs, they were $80. I can remember trying to come up with $80.
But stock motors were all 25
Yeah,
bucks.
$25 for a stock motor.
Modified motors were anywhere between
Well, that's the
75
thing,
and 100.
that's why I always laugh when people say how expensive it is today. I mean,
We were paying that in $1985.
I was gonna say, and you're looking at Novak made speed controllers back then, Victor Engineering, which was a good one, Tekin.
Yeah.
Speed
Those were all
controllers
good.
started at $75 too.
Oh,
They
yeah,
always have.
and those, the brake FET used to go out all the time.
Yeah.
You know, you'd
Yeah,
be
Jimmy
racing
fixed
along and all of a
left
sudden
and
you had
right.
no brakes and there's the speed controller done.
So
You had to send it out.
honestly, if you think about it, RC has actually gotten cheaper than.
Yes.
I think
It's-
the
it's-
cost of
Especially-
operation, I think, is much cheaper than it was from back
Yeah,
in the days.
I mean, you go
honestly
back
agree.
even to the RC10, one of the more expensive RC10s was a World Edition.
Yeah.
When they come out with that graphite pan
Yeah,
and all, I
yeah.
mean, that was a killer machine. And, that was, what, 250,
Yeah, it was
300 bucks back
$250 to
then?
$300 to get.
I
one
think
of
the
those.
stock RC10 was what, about 250 with
Yeah,
bearings?
yeah, with the bearing, yeah,
When
with
it
the,
first
with the
came
team,
out.
the team kit.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
aluminum tub.
Oh, yeah, the gold anodized,
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Mark
And to
says-
my car, like, they were $150 to $200, I mean, unless you
Mark
got a
says
grid
I
stop.
paid $160 for a '69 Nova back then. And Skunk Balls, I remember buying a Thorpe differential
Oh,
and
yeah.
a Twister Hurricane for like $50 each.
Yeah,
It was-
oh yeah, the Thorpe disc we used to run in the Foxes.
All did,
They were
yeah.
$50 a piece, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that stupid little screw, that bent screw that keeps them together would always break.
Yeah.
That was always breaking. It was like, what the heck?
Dave says batteries last longer also.
Oh my gosh, you could run with one battery now.
Yeah,
why
now
we
you can, yeah,
What
yeah,
do
back
we have till
then.
we
That's
were
why we
done?
were
Yeah,
in 4
you know,
minutes.
3-4
That's all you
practice
got.
packs.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, you had your race packs and you had your practice packs.
Yep.
You know, that was just, and they weren't cheap, you know.
And then that's when, that pulse charging started to come out.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, we remember the old timer chargers, that's what you started with.
Yeah.
And then Tekin came out with a pulse charger
Pulse.
that gave a better charge to the battery, it was cooler.
And then when turbochargers came out,
Oh, yeah.
that started a whole new,
Oh, yeah.
that was a whole new thing. you know.
That's when I got the matchers and I
Yeah.
used to match my own.
Yeah, Jimmy's in the matching business there for a long time.
Jason Parvin, I remember buying cases of,
Jason.
Jason.
Oh, Jesus.
cases of SCR batteries and matching them ourselves with the Tekin discharger.
Oh.
Yeah, well,
So-
remember what we used to do for dischargers? We were
Oh,
pretty smart.
10 bulbs,
You'd take
yeah.
1157 car lamps,
Yep.
Yeah.
take 10 of them and solder them
solder them all
together
together
and
and
plug
drain
it in,
them
and
out.
that battery would come down pretty quick. That's what we did, honest to God.
Jason, speaking of Jason, I gotta mention Jason, because Jason and another friend of mine back then was Travis Moyer. And you'll see Travis was on a couple of these Schneider track. He was a really good runner
I
back
went to
then
school
too.
with him.
Did you?
Yeah,
Really?
he was
He- No, he went to Sounders.
Yeah, I went to Southerton too.
Oh, did you really?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, we were running off-road back then, and we were all over the country. And we went out to Michigan, I guess, with Jason and Travis's parents rented me a 9-passenger bus. And we all went out to this race out in Michigan, it was called The War. And we had a blast out there. We all did really good out there, but we were running 4-wheel drive off-road cars. And Jason, we used to run down down in Vineland, off-road down there, and that's where we did a lot of racing. That's probably what we were doing when you guys were running ovals up here at the pool. We were probably running all. Yeah, nice.
His GoPro.
Now it's back.
We probably just made 2 cents.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, what's a Domino's? This is a Rufino Italian kitchen area.
Real dope.
No,
Whoever
yeah,
brings us
real
a pizza, whoever brings us a pizza first, they're the sponsor, okay? Sal's
gonna show up.
Sal will show up. You
Yeah.
say his name. You'll bring cheese pizza.
He showed up with a pizza.
All right. So, like I was saying, let's before his battery dies on the GoPro and Facebook. It's gonna be a little bit harder for you to see because you're the farther distance, but we will be having this demonstration cut out and put on our YouTube channel. So, you want to do your
One second, let me just, we'll restart from here. And we'll just focus on this.
All right.
And I'd say let's move the sprint car.
Yeah, thanks to Sal because he bought this for me. So this is Sal was my sponsor. So, but for any of you guys that ever saw these things, it's really a nice thing to have. It's made by Full Tilt RC. It's a fire tone, a tire foam break-in, break-in tool, and it really works nice. It's good for setting up your tires. You can really soften them up. So if you never saw one of these things work, you just basically need a drill and an arbor.
which I just seen it pop on. You can buy that at Pheasantland RC Park.
Yeah, you can buy the arbor pretty much anywhere you go, and these wheels are adjustable, so you can set the height up and down to wherever you want. These are all adjustable here too. So you can basically put this in here. You want to kind of get it tight. So right now it's a little too loose. But what you want to do is you got to get it in there.
A little bit, yeah. A little too
I
tight.
don't have the. This is what I did. I stripped the first one out. There we go. Because it gets tight.
Now, Brandon,
All right, so
move the YouTube channel.
Bring it closer.
No, it's got a weird angle. So we're just gonna move it that way a little bit.
Oh, okay, I see what you're doing.
Where at?
Just bring it like right here. So we'll just focus on him right now. Because Cowboys want to see it. And Overwatch says I need one.
yeah, these are they're about $100 with the stomp. They call it a stomp wheel. It's basically it's a wheel that they mill grooves in, and that actually breaks it down quicker. But what you do is once you get these wheels set where the amount of pressure that you want to put on these wheels, and you got to be careful with these things. So there's so much pressure on this wheel when you're spinning it that you can strip the insides. You got to be real careful with it. But just get it spinning, and once it's in here, oops,
You just floor it.
yeah, just floor it, and just kind of wiggle it back and forth. This keeps coming loose, and then I reverse it. This will kill a battery like in a heartbeat. But you'll see how hot this tire is when I get it off of here after a couple minutes. See how hot that gets.
Wow.
So
Wow. That's like you just ran
it makes it like a sponge. See how soft that is? Yeah. So you guys you can take, now normally what I'll do here now is to go home and probably sand this tire down, take some of the bead off of it. But you can see in that little bit of time how fast that broke that tire in. And this works on any of these tires. It works great on almost any, it's all adjustable. You can put almost any tire. You can't do like touring cars. It won't do touring cars, but it'll do anything from, Traxxas cars to sprint cars and all that stuff. But this, thanks to Sal, like I said, Sal got this for me, and I've been playing with it for the last week or so. And it's worth, I think it's $90 or $95 for the stomper wheel. It's cheaper without that. And but it's made by Full Tilt RC. Definitely look them up. The guy's really nice to deal with. You can get these in all different colors. Not that I'm pushing it on anybody, but it's something I think a lot of guys would really have a nice use for.
Why not
So
just
if
see
you're
if
looking to-
Mark can get them in the shop?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's just one guy that makes them, I think. But I mean, the service was quick. I think I had it in 3 days. So he's real fast with getting your stuff and real nice to deal with. But if you're looking to step up your racing program a little bit, those things are really nice. I haven't tried those DE foams, the DE tires that we had, because those things got really hard foams on them. So I haven't really played with those yet, but I think you can really break down those DE racing tire foams.
Now,
Really
what's the
nice.
advantage of having softer foams?
Well, you definitely can soften it. It just makes a softer tire and more bite. So the softer it is, the better it is. And you go to a track and you're stuck with, you've got a couple sets of tires, but and you need a softer tire. What are you going to do? You can't do anything. So you got this thing with you. Boom, a couple minutes, you're going to have a soft tire. Or you just need that little bit extra. Throw it in the machine for a couple minutes, soften it up a little bit more, and boom, you're hooked up.
So all I'm hearing is Bloodline RC will be ordering one of these.
Thanks, Kyle.
You're welcome.
But like I said, not that I'm pushing on it, but it was something we saw online, and Sal was nice enough to get it and let me play with it, and it's a nice tool. It really, I think it's something you guys could really make use of over the summer.
See, Skunk Ball says foam butters are a godsend. Bob's RC, now that's a nifty tool to have in the pit. And Skunk Pulse, I have one that's two-wheel and use it for oval and off-road. They actually put heat in tires.
Yeah, the two-wheel does the same thing. The nice thing about the three-wheel is you don't have to put any pressure on it. You can set it and get consistent, things all the time. With the two drum, you're always pushing pressure on it to kind of get it to where you want. This, once you set it, it's going to do every tire the same. So you have a little bit of more of a let's put it this way, for the extra, I think $15, you definitely want to get this.
Yeah.
Because there's only like a difference, like $15, $20 difference for the two wheel and the three wheel. So it's definitely something that you want to get.
So Skunk Paw says sauce plus the foam, sauce again makes it slick, nice and tacky. So
Okay.
if you took your Papa Willie's Stretcher Tonic, put it on there, and then did it, do you think it would speed the process and break down the tire more?
Well, I don't know. The way I would do it is I'd break them down first and then sauce them. Yeah. Because I don't know how that's gonna work on these wheels once you sauce them up. It may work fine. At least you're not gonna be able to put them in wet. You know what I mean? But if you, I'm gonna be using liquid wrench, I think, more than anything this year instead of to soften these tires up. Liquid wrench is gonna be probably the thing that I'm gonna be sticking in. It seems to be what they're using, pretty much everywhere. So I'm gonna use liquid wrench and try to see if that I'd have to use a traction compound. But I think to break the tires in, I think liquid wrench is gonna be the way to
That's what
soften them.
last year I tried liquid wrench or WD-40 or whatever, and I put them out there in the sun on two metal sheets, and let it all bake in, and they got nice and good.
Yeah.
It was still, the foam was still, I didn't have like this.
Yeah,
the
right,
foam
right.
was-
But see, that's the thing. You can break the foam down, then you can make yourself some gummies, and then you're going to be way ahead of the game.
Yeah, I know last year I'm just getting into this. I'm like 2-3 years into this now, and this is my next step is to get to the tires. Yeah, that's a big thing. People don't realize in dirt there's salted tires, and it's some days you do with that hard
Yeah.
tire.
Everywhere I think we go, we always hear it's not always your setup, it's always
Tires,
tires,
yeah.
tires,
Tires,
tires. Yes.
AJ says, how do you sand the tires down?
Okay, there's a couple different ways. Sal, once again, I got a big heavy duty machine at the house that I can take a new tire and in 5 seconds have it down to bald. It's basically a big motor about that big, has an arbor on it, and then it uses a DeWalt angle grinder that has a flat 4-inch drum on it that I spin the motor up and then hit the DeWalt, and it sits on a slide that I can actually set it, and I can take a tire like this and break it down in about 30 seconds to nothing. So what I do is I'll stick it on that machine, cut it down to where I want it, and then it's all done by hand. Then I have a 4-inch sanding paddle that I just put it on the arbor and just sit there and tune them to whatever radius you want. You got to have a radius, because that, like I said, the machine I have will cut the tires flat. You won't have this radius. When you're done with the machine we have, it's perfectly flat. It looks like a drag strip basically.
Yeah.
So you got to put the radius back in it. So you do that by sanding it.
I don't think he'll mind me saying because he won't care anyway. Dylan McNichol, he says all he does to get his tires done, he takes a piece of wood, staples the sandpaper, and then uses this and runs them on.
You can do that, yeah, or you can put it on a drill press and take a piece of wood. I've done that. Oh yeah, I've done that. Yeah, I just use a putty knife, a heavy putty knife. It's basically what it all is. It's got carbide sandpaper on it, and you can just sit there and play with it until you cut it. It takes you a few minutes to do, but when it's done, you have a nice job.
I heard a few people just something similar along the lines with what you just said about Dylan doing what he does with sandpaper and a piece of wood. I heard a few people take that and they'll just hold it in their hands with sandpaper and step down. So,
Yeah, it gets hot though.
Yeah.
Like, you can do
Yeah,
it.
I believe it.
I do it.
Burn your
on
hands
the-
a couple
on the grinder
times.
I have it on. That's what I used to do.
Bloodline RC does not recommend doing that, and if you burn your hand, you cannot sue us.
This is true.
Too bad.
Yeah.
AJ says, I ordered a 2-wheel that has a sanding wheel you can put on it.
That I'd like to see. That I'd like to see.
Sweet, so I think we can put the cameras back to where they
All
were.
right.
Because our demonstration is over. Thank you for doing that, Barry.
Yeah, like I said, I hope it helps some people. That's why I kind of like to get on these shows and show.
I also think the other thing that helps do, in addition to soften it, you have to also remember, a lot of these are mass produced, so the foam is never centered or equalized in the tire. When you roll that foam, you tend to soften that foam inside around there as well, and that gets that flatter that the tire is truly round. I mean, some of the tires you take out of the box and you look at them, you put it on an axle and you spin it, it's like this.
Yeah, you don't
it's
have
not
that
that
with
bad,
this,
but it's
yeah,
looking. But,
that's about as flat as it
yeah,
gets.
see, when you get that and you can equalize it, then you're also taking the foam and smoothing it around the tire itself inside. So that makes a big difference. The roll center, or the roll of the tire
Yeah,
is a lot smoother.
yeah. It just makes it's just a nice addition to your toolbox. You know?
Absolutely.
You know, it's just a nice thing to have.
So,
Alright guys, I'm out of here. See ya.
Uh-oh.
let's see. Mark Clauses, Barry, and Jim, what was your biggest win or the one that meant the most?
Probably for me, we had a 1,000-lap race at Denwick was the track back then. It was 4-man teams. And we came up with a unique system because you had to run the 1,000 laps. There was no stopping to change batteries except on your own time. So in other words, the race didn't stop. You basically pulled in, pitted, somebody, a team member changed the battery. We used a two-way intercom. So when the driver started to see the battery sinking a little bit, he'd signal down to the pits and say, hey, get one peak, I'm coming in 3 laps. So we come in and pit, change the battery and go. And the other thing that was an advantage, that same person that was monitoring that end of it also watched the track for accidents. So go low in 3, watch 4, this kind of stuff. So we won by almost 75 laps, and of course after the race we were automatically retired. We never came back. They told us that we kind of beat the horse on that one. So, but that was one of the most satisfying wins I think between the 4 of us that we had. And then the other one I would think of is when Travis won the Mega Track. When we were down there.
Yeah, Travis
He won the A main,
Yeah.
and I was doing my batteries back then. And then we were allowed to get a banner posted at Mega Track with our battery name on it and stuff. And I'll give you a quick story how that came about. Barry was doing, we were in the slot cars as well as RC. And when we come over across, we wound up winning. And Barry comes out and yells out, "That's ballistic." And that's how the name Ballistic Battery started. And then Barry we took an armature with the commutator, and Barry put a couple eyes on the big Texas cowboy hat with horns. And that was our logo. So,
I still have it.
but that's
Do you
like-
still have that logo?
Yeah, I
You still have the logo?
Oh,
Do you have it?
absolutely.
We gotta get that out again.
Yeah.
That was a neat logo.
Yeah, I'll have to bring that down. I still have all the original artwork.
Yeah, I still have one in my slot car box, man.
Okay. But I think those are the most satisfying to me, because we got like it had to be a 5-foot trophy.
Oh, yeah, it was big, yeah.
I still, that's one of the few trophies I kept. The other ones I got rid of years ago. But that was one of the trophies I always decided to keep because it meant a lot to me.
I threw out 400 trophies.
Wow.
Wow.
I don't think I ever had that many, but yeah, we had a lot of
I had
fun.
a shed full of them.
I wish I had 4.
And I'm talking big stuff, Megatrack. Neat thing about Megatrack, here's another thing that was really nice about Megatrack and Stay. When they had those big races, if you made the A main, the top 10 guys got trophies. So when
Yeah,
those,
all the way
and
back.
I'm not talking trophies, I'm talking trophies.
Yeah,
Huge trophies. I mean, they're big. They spent fortunes on these trophies.
yeah.
And
They rolled
but you
marble.
just all you had to do was make the A main, and you got a trophy for it.
Yeah, they
Because-
weren't plastic.
All you
the
had
bases
to do
were-
was make
Oh,
the.
that was, all you had to do was make the A main,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the base and
that's-
the construction was all marble.
Yeah, they were,
They
yeah,
weighed
they're
a
all,
ton.
all wooden and marble, I mean, they were
Yep,
beautiful
yep.
trophies, they spent fortunes on trophies.
How many mains would they typically have?
Yeah.
That's one Trinity race, they were in double letters, I mean, we were in, they had, I think they went to G or B's. Steve, you may remember them, Steve, do you remember how many, that big Trinity race with 400 or 500 people in it?
Yeah, I know, I think.
I knew it was double letters, it was, it was a long weekend.
All right, we got a lot of questions right here for a second.
Okay,
But let's finish what's your biggest win?
I think my biggest win with the most amount of people was the Grand Oval when I won that US Indoor, the Oval Indoor race. I won that race on the last lap, on the last corner. There was this much room to get around a guy. He went into the corner, I was following him, and at that time I was running with Lightspeed batteries really gave me some good stuff. And I just had more battery in him. And we came down to the last lap, the 4-minute timer went off, you had to finish the lap you're on. And I was 2 feet behind this guy the whole race, and I could see him getting closer and closer as the last lap came, his battery started dying off. And he didn't he left that enough space for me to get that car through that corner. It was a 90-degree corner. So there was enough room to get my car there, he was on the outside. And the last corner of the last race, I went underneath that guy, passed him, and won the damn championship. And that place went nuts. I mean, it was like phenomenal. That was before we went down with Gardecki down to North Carolina.
to the Nationals.
Yeah, and I think Steve was along with that one too. But that got me that ride down. I got fully sponsorship to go down to that race down there because I won that
That's
race.
a name I haven't thought about in a long time, John Gardecki.
John Gardecki, yeah.
He drove that Saab all the time, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So Steve says Sportsman Cup was sponsored by Trinity, about 500 entries.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true, yep.
Okay, and then we're gonna go motor braking question for Barry, and if you guys want a motor braking video with these two, it's on our channel.
That's true, it is, yeah.
Uh,
I can't believe the hits that thing got.
yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, I get guys actually texting me on Facebook about, hey, thanks for the videos. So that was really neat.
Skunk Boss asks, wet or dry? I know water is more conductive, but are there any advantages? Which is best? Any help? And then
All right, give it a second to catch up and.
Facebook's also froze. And then they come back like normal.
There it is. In fact.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
good.
we're good.
You're good. You're good. Yeah.
All right, we're back on?
Yeah.
We're back.
Okay, well, the big thing for me is I like water. Dry, you have to remember that the brush is made out of carbon and other materials, copper and so forth. Carbon will transfer to the commutator. So if it's dry, you're basically scoring the comm as you're breaking it in. So I like water. The water will actually act as a lubricant, a conductor, and also clean the carbon from the brush as it breaks in. A lot of guys tell me all kinds of different voltages they use. Some guys tell me 3 volts, some tell me 6. I know there for a while, Joey told me he was testing them after he broke them in at 8 volts. So I know some of the guys run some pretty high voltages. I don't run that high, but I think if you're anywhere in around the 3 volt neighborhood, give or take, and it depends on the brush. What you want to do is, some brushes are harder than others, so there's really no specific time, but I would say at least 30 to 45 minutes. And that should give you, you're not going to wear the brushes out on them. They're very hard, and that's how I break them in. And wash it clean, lubricate the bushings right away, and then I usually run them 4 or 5 minutes after I break them in like that, just to make sure everything's seated properly and I don't have a big carbon streak on the comm.
What I've told the guys based on your information,
Yeah.
started out at 5 amps and usually that equals about one
Well, yeah, you
volt
can
to
do it
start.
by amps. Yeah, amp draw, and again, depending on the motor, some's gonna draw a little more amps than others, some will be a little less.
Yep.
But when you start to see that amp peak,
Yeah.
and then stay at that peak, then the brushes are all but 100% seated. So you,
All right, we're almost at 9 o'clock. I mean, but we got a lot of
Went quick.
questions.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, okay.
I think it froze.
I think it's coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There she goes.
There it goes back. All right. What was the best car you raced, and what was the worst car you raced, and why?
well, for me, probably the RC10. Well, actually, Jake Florer called me. Jake and I got to know each other because I drive pretty dumb like he does. I learned slot cars, so I always trigger with my right finger. So when I run an RC, I run over top. And Jake was one of the few guys that did that, and I didn't know him at the time. And he come over and said, "Where'd you learn to drive like that?" And I said, "I didn't. Nobody told me. I just figured it out myself from slot car days." So that's how I got to know Jake, but, I think one of the biggest things radio-wise with that was just, you know, for me reaching over once I got used to it. The big thing for me was watching these guys with stick radios that could still run a stick radio. That just totally blew me away to be able to turn, so, that was one of the big things for me.
Was,
Well, the best car, I think, over the course of the years, I think the RC10 was probably the best car I've ever,
Yeah, I would
the
agree.
best car that was ever produced. For its day, like I said, I always liked the RC10. I mean, we had a lot of fun with the Foxes. I mean, there's a couple of us guys that really had things down and really ran all of them, but I think over the course of my lifetime, I think the RC10's probably been the best car that I've ever driven, without a doubt. The worst car I think I've ever owned was a 12-scale car. It was made by MRP, and this was back in the 80s. Or, it's probably the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. It was pretty much a plastic chassis car, but at that time it was pretty popular. It had a race team and all that stuff, and it did well, but I just never liked it. And there was a lot of 12-scale cars I owned that didn't like. But I like 5th scale. 5th scale was a lot of fun. 8th scale was even more fun, but I couldn't afford to do it. Everything I did, I pretty much liked. I don't think there was anything really. I don't think there's a car out there I really, really hated. You know.
Yeah, I think the RC10 was definitely my best too.
Yeah.
But I think the one that was the worst, in fact, it was called the Agitator, and ran that at Megatrack.
Oh, that car! I remember that.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
I was so pissed at that thing, I wanted to take it and throw it a half a mile down the road.
Were you agitated?
It agitated. Yeah.
I wound up calling it the Aggravator.
Yeah. I remember that car.
Yeah, and I had a Tekin speed control, and that's when they first went to high frequency speed controls. And I didn't know any better at the time, or anybody else did either, but I'd get the farthest point in the radio, and I'd come out of the turn low, and it would turn right into the wall and break the chassis in half.
Oh my
I broke
God.
3 chassis that weekend to the tune
I
of about
remember that.
about $140
Yeah, that was an
for the
expensive
chassis.
weekend.
Man, I was broke till I went home, and I thought, what a piece of crap.
I'd have to ask Steve on the Steve. If you're still there at Megatrack, what was the worst chassis you've ever used down there that you didn't care for at all?
so we'll get his comment, but Brian Palancar, both of you guys run graphite as lubricant on your RC rides?
No,
No,
I don't. No graphite.
No, I don't use graphite at all. No, I actually, my shock oil motor is a shock oil for a motorcycle. Zero weight shock oil.
And Dave Moore, I still have my Tamiya Fox.
Do you still have a Fox?
That's a classic, man.
Yeah, that's a classic. Does it have those shocks on it yet?
I'll have to comment back.
I got one now with the mono shock still.
Yeah, I still have the monoshock,
I still
dude.
have
Wow.
Wow.
Dual shock and a mono shock one.
That was the one in the
You
front.
got a modernized one for your dad, for Christmas, didn't you?
It's
The grasshopper.
It's
the
still the
grasshopper.
exact same kit as back then,
Yeah,
just
wow.
an electronic ESC.
Just upgraded.
That's it.
Modernized.
No,
No?
just an electronic ESC.
Dave Moore says yes, all 3.
Does he have it? No kidding. Wow, how about that?
And Weller tried to Bowlink, was not good, then went to the TRC.
That I didn't like the TRC.
Yeah, TRC
that
links.
TRC links was a
Yeah,
but
see, that's what I want. A lot of guys were running the 10Ls down there at
Yeah,
the time,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
just wanted something different.
Yeah, but when I
So
was
I
the same
wound up
way.
buying the TRC Links
Yeah,
Pro Kit,
and
yeah.
that just didn't
That was a
work.
good chassis, yeah.
Mine didn't. I couldn't get mine to work. I got rid of mine. I had it. Actually, I won one. I won one at the one race because Ernie Preventi gave it to me. And I raced the guy. Before that I was running. The hell was I running? I don't think I was running an RC10 at that. I mean RC. What was it? What the hell were those things? The band cars. What were they?
Well, 10L was one.
10L, yeah.
Yeah, that was the most popular in
Yeah,
Corrales.
yeah. I think I was running an aggravator. I think you and me had the same cars. I think
Yeah,
at that time.
and then the other was Corrale.
Corelli, yeah, well, I was running Corelli 12s. Man, talk about it. Those were nice cars.
Yes, that was
Wow.
an incredible
Like,
chassis.
they were expensive. Corelli's a nice car.
Weller says he still has it, whatever.
The links, he still has the links. No kidding.
So I hate to cut this off.
We should bring you guys back though.
So
Yeah,
here's my idea. Let's have a Legends night. We'll have these two, we'll bring in Steve.
Yeah.
And whoever that you guys can think from
Yeah, I
last
just
week.
went
We'll
back.
bring in
back
the
to
old
the-
man.
Blast from the
Yeah, we'll
past.
bring your,
Yeah,
we'll bring
yeah,
your
yeah,
dad in,
yeah.
and we'll,
Blast from the past.
Yeah.
I ran with Pop many times.
so we'll have
And
a,
then also, we do have our points results, but we'll cover that next week.
next week we'll,
So,
and a little sneak peek, the next week we are having a Pheasantland award show.
Yep, yep.
So,
so that actually goes hand in hand pretty well with the points,
so we'll go over that next week.
Yep.
So, are we, anyone's raising anything this week?
Pit stop, I think,
Yeah,
we're
he's
gonna
supposed
try to
to
get up a pit
practice,
stop.
I guess.
Are you gonna run a pit stop?
Me?
The off-road?
No,
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 RC,
he's putting in a
Ultimate,
dirt,
Ultimate.
Oh,
he's
okay.
putting in a dirt off-road track up
Yeah,
there
he's,
too.
but he's not gonna race on it though.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm gonna do yet with that. It's all with Sal, Sal was talking about probably doing some, but, I'm not running any brush stuff this year, I'm gonna run all, it's all, Sal and I are doing all brushless stuff and, modified, so, going to build make models and all that stuff.
Speaking of Sal says, when we do the Legends night, he will bring the pizza.
There you go, there you go. Like, what is it? Legends and Legendary Pizza, it works
there you
together.
go.
Dave Moore says old man night.
Yeah, well, Dave Drees, Dave Moore,
Does that-
all those guys we raced back.
Oh, yeah,
Talk to
yeah,
Bill
Dave
Hennig
Drees,
at all?
he was, well, he's still.
Yeah, I'd like to get, Bill, that would be Steve still.
And maybe Jeff Embody?
Wait, I could get Embody.
Yeah, everybody be,
But,
I get everybody, I can
He
text
didn't,
him.
not the same one that ran late model back at Grandview, is it?
Who, Bill?
Bill had-
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
quick story. When we started out, our transponder in our big car, the big 600 mod, is Bill Henning's transponder.
Is it his
That's
old
what we- that's
transponder?
what we
Oh
got
my
it-
gosh,
Yeah, the
yeah,
heck
I
so,
remember
yeah.
Hennings, yeah.
At
racing.
Grandview, when we run Grandview, it still comes up Bill Henning. when we
Get the heck
go
out,
by.
no shit.
Oh, get the heck
That's
out.
amazing,
Wow.
that's amazing.
So, I know the question from Sal at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the show was, where are you guys running since Pheasantland's over?
Well, like I said, I talked to the wife tonight, she says I can go up, so Sal, we're probably going to Ultimate, so.
Sunday, Easter weekend.
Yeah, Easter Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, that one, I might make that, I'm not sure. But if not, for the summer, I'll probably run Ultimate and run here in the dirt as well. Cause this is usually Saturday. I wouldn't mind going up to, Mahoning, speed drill there, but he can only run Sunday because of the racing Saturday.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And if I go to Ultimate, I can't run.
You can't run up there,
Can't
yeah,
run up
yeah.
there, so.
I'll definitely be between these two places. I'll probably, it all depends what Mike does with classes here this year, whether I can run the stuff we're gonna run at Ultimate here or not. A lot's gonna do when, once he comes out with the rules, what I'm gonna run this year.
Rules should be out this week.
Okay,
Oh, good.
And if not, I will convince Joe to give them to me, and we will debut them next Monday.
okay,
And I'm hoping to do schedule release next Monday.
okay.
I think we're going to do the Pheasantland RC award show, and we'll just wrap the whole show around Pheasantland and do all that. And
Get all the info out there.
I know it was in talks that this year will be a new race night, not Saturdays anymore.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay.
I'll break. Most people know, but we're going to break it next Monday.
All right, good.
Nice.
Something to look forward to.
Teaser.
Yep.
Stay tuned for next Monday.
There's a lot happening.
There's a lot
Next
going on.
Monday, we got an award show. We're going to do
The points.
recap, and Mike Merkel is going to be on the show.
Oh,
Wow, Monday.
Hey, speaking
Hey,
of
speaking
devil,
of
there
devil.
There he is.
Yo, overtime!
He's over-
Oh, jeez.
So, Mike, you want to step back here a little?
Actually, that's kind of weird walking out here with
I
no
know,
table.
you were saying the same thing, I walked in, it's like, boy, it don't look the same when you have no tables in it.
You could have just plugged that.
Oh,
so.
thanks.
Anytime.
So, tune in next week, and you'll see Merkel on the show.
Yeehaw.
Thank you guys. We're definitely going to set the legends tonight.
Yes.
So we got to thank our sponsors, Papa Boy Tonic, GT Bodies, Race Ready Products, and Pheasantland RC Park.
My sponsor, Rufino's.
Yes.
Also, don't forget Comsticks.
Comsticks, yes, you're looking for Comsticks, I got them.
Lee, do you have an email address they can contact you at?
Garbage for me at Verizon.net using the number 4. Or get me on Facebook, I'm on Facebook.
Barry Rosenberger
Yeah,
on Facebook.
Yeah, on
Probably easier.
Facebook, yeah.
You can find them on our Bloodline RC page.
Or Bloodline RC, yes, yes.
So, thanks everybody.
Yep.
Thank you,
night, man.
it was fun.
Fun night.
It was a good time.
Thank you guys.
Way to go.
Barry.
You
Thank
gotta
you, guys.
go hit the camera because I don't know how to do that.
Aw. Alright, fine.
All right.
Bye, all.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Then I just sit there and wait until it's over.